All right, well, I think we have a pretty good turnout here, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for jumping on. My name is Chris Farr. I'm the Director of Industrial Extended Reality here at Avatar Partners. I'm hosting this event here for the Extended Reality for Business Meetup Group. So this series is all about just a high-level introduction for integrating augmented reality with artificial intelligence. So we have a couple speakers here. I'm going to share my screen to get the introduction started. So this is actually just for some context here. So this snippet here, the screenshot, is coming from one of our solutions here, integrating with some artificial intelligence with some other sensor integration. So I just thought this would be a cool picture to share. Again, this is the, hold on, my screen is actually flashing. There we go. So this is the extended reality integrating AR with artificial intelligence. So we have speakers who have been in this industry for much longer than I have. I've been in the industry for about 2 years now, so we've got some really vetted individuals here. So to kick it off, I'm actually going to go from right to left here. We're going to start with Alan Cass, who is one of our AR and MR developers. Alan's got many years developing many types of different augmented reality experiences, a lot of experience with artificial intelligence as well. So we're really excited to have him on board here and start developing the solutions that he's beginning to create. Then we also have Daryl Pyle. Daryl has been with IBM for, I believe, 14 years now, Daryl. So Daryl is primarily working he's an evangelist for the Watson IBM system and is very knowledgeable with artificial intelligence on a very deep level. And then we have Trevor Backlund, who has been in the industry for about 8 years now in industrial, really industry 4.0 IoT related initiatives. So Trevor is now the executive VP of New West Technology, who is releasing a new series of mixed reality smart glasses. So Trevor's going to round out the entire call from the hardware perspective. So just for some house cleaning issues, just make sure everyone's muted. If you'd like to show your face and have the video on, please do so. And what we'll do is after each conversation here, or rather each presentation, we'll do a Q&A at the end of the session. And any questions that you have, please drop them in the chat. I'll monitor the chat. And then we'll have this panel discussion for about 15 minutes after Trevor finishes up here. And then what we'll do is, because Meetup doesn't give out any personal information, thank God, if you are interested in any additional resources, then please shoot me or Trevor, Daryl, or Alan even a follow-up, and we'll be happy to follow up with you with those resources. So what I'll do now is I'm going to pass it over to Alan to get started, and we'll go from there. Let me stop the share. I got a couple more people joining too, so let them in. All right, Alan, I am making you the host, sir.
Perfect.
All right, it's all you.
Okay, great. Let me share the screen here, make sure I've got everything working properly here. All right, everybody see the screen, integrating AR with artificial intelligence, I hope. So yes, once again, my name is Alan Cass. I'm a senior developer here at Avatar Partners, working with the XR platform and also integrating quite a bit of the AI as well as IoT solutions here. So before we get started, I just want to talk briefly about my background. And there we go. It's a little slow. So for those of you in the AR industry, my background goes back quite a ways. I go back to about 2009 when I was at the time a multimedia developer using Flash and ActionScript. And I happened across a sample that was generated by General Electric at the time. And basically you'd print out a marker and show it, would pull up some AR stuff here. So that was my first intro into augmented reality. Going a little bit further, we got to about 2014 and I created a augmented reality app called Printergize. And I had the opportunity to have that featured on the cover of Billboard magazine with Chaka Khan. It was one of their first experiences with AR as well. So anyways, that was an interesting time, and obviously things gotten more interesting since then. So the big question for this specific webinar is our artificial intelligence. So we're all familiar with AR and kind of how that works, but how are we integrating with artificial intelligence with AR? So, okay. It's a little slow on my side on this presentation, but for the most part, this webinar would be way too long to go into the details of what AI is and the different components of it. But for those of you very familiar with augmented reality, you might be surprised to know that AI is actually embedded in most of the major platforms that we're currently using. So if you're doing any one of these guys here on the screen here, if you're doing image recognition, plane detection, geometry-based detection, anything like that, it's actually all AI built into the back end of these systems. So we're already using it technically in AR. But you're probably, and most consumers are probably familiar with this type of AR. And that is AI that allows you to detect points, feature points on the face, and then track that with a mesh to give you kind of a user experience like this. And again, this is a specific type of AI that's being used out there. But the question is, how are we using it here at Avatar Partners? And how do we make it a little bit smarter and more useful in maybe an industrial sense? And one of the things I like to call it here, kind of at the bottom here, is AI in AR is not necessarily meant to replace humans. The big advantage of it currently is to augment human experience or help assist in the process of solving problems in situations. So we want to emphasize that with some of the samples that we're going to talk about here. The first kind of project we're going to talk about is one of the projects we did recently with the V-22 Osprey. So as you can imagine, looking at this plane here, it's a fairly advanced aircraft. A lot of features inside of it, a lot of places for things to potentially go wrong. And so one of the things we were tasked to do is to assist in the discovery of misrouted wires. So when they run wires through this plane, they have to be very flexible. They have to work a certain way. And there's a lot of opportunity there for things to kind of go wrong if it's not doing.
Yeah, Alan, sorry to interrupt. I don't think we can see your screen.
Oh, no?
Yeah, it's still on the AI people screen.
Oh, is it?
Here, so let's do this to free up bandwidth. If everybody, whoever's not presenting, if you could please shut off your video as well. So only the presenter will have their video on. Thank you.
Let me, can you see this part of it now, Chris?
No, I just see three individuals wearing glasses.
Okay, let me stop sharing and try to share again. See. Okay, what about now?
It's just a black screen. Black screen,
Yeah.
right?
Same.
I was doing so well up to that point.
Yeah, they're good.
Well, you're gonna have to see. Let me just, I guess, share the desktop. What about now?
A black screen still.
I don't see anything here. So let's do this. Let's reorganize here. Alan, if you could pass the meeting to Daryl, and let's see if Daryl is able to share his screen, and then we'll pick back up where you left off.
All right, hold on one second.
Okay.
Okay, Daryl, let's switch that over to you.
It's sure. Is that good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you.
So welcome everyone. We're just here on the fly here. So my name is Daryl Pyle. I'm a my latest title is Technical Partner Architect. So what I do is I work with partners that embed IBM technologies inside their solutions, kind of work with them to think through the art of the possible, how to combine different solutions, utilize them, etc. Part of that role is actually more of an evangelist as well for various technologies. Can go high level, deep, just depends what the requirements are. Some of my passions, cloud and cognitive technologies. Cloud technologies, cloud computing, the hot thing that's out there. It enables tons of scaling, etc. The AI capabilities, deployment options, and then being able to release the power of data and then connecting all those pieces. There's tons of solutions that are available to get the kind of the wow factors. Connecting multiple solutions together truly takes you to that next level. When I'm not behind the desk or traveling, doing presentations or meetups, talking, etc., love to go out exploring, hiking, mentoring, educating folks, etc., about various technologies. So conversation today is about AI, which is primarily referred to as Watson. So Watson is a brand of IBM, so it's with bunches of AI technologies underneath of it. So when you first started hearing about Watson out there, it was through the game show Jeopardy. So that was taking place in 2011, where you had the best of Jeopardy contestants going up against the computer system known as Watson. So why was this a big feat? If you start looking at Jeopardy, the challenges of Jeopardy is there's multiple facets to it. You have a category with various amounts on it. You have to know what the categories are. You need to do some strategy on it. It requires a broad knowledge base of the various topics. It could be present day, what's the latest trends out there, what's the latest music, etc., all the way back into medieval history, right? Wide variety of topics. To put on top of that, your responses are in the form of a question versus being an answer. So you kind of have to reverse your mindset in a sense. There is a time limit that you're required to fit those responses in, and that kind of factors in. You have 5 seconds to answer the question. Otherwise, it doesn't count, and you have to move on, right? And then when it comes down to it, to win, you have to be able to balance the risk and your amount of money that you want to put into it to see, will you ultimately win or not at the end of it. For a human, very simple. You just have a person. You have a built-in wide set of knowledge. You have broad knowledge bases. You can thinking through things. You can hear and then talk back and know how to articulate that. When you look on the right-hand side there's a little computer. I put little icons underneath of it. Because first the computer has to hear the question, be able to dissect it into the various pieces of it, search through its knowledge base, process what the knowledge base is, figure out what's the most likely answer, and then respond back with that actual answer itself, all within 5 seconds. So quite the feat when you look at it, and that's kind of where Watson came into play, and where it's does kind of a fantastic ground run at Watson and showing the public what's the potential. So IBM has a ton of different AI aspects of it that fall under Watson. The most common one that I'll start off with is Watson Assistant. For lack of better terms, that's the traditional chatbot. But we look at it as more of a cognitive assistant versus just a chatbot. Chatbots are kind of, you have a single flow of dialogue that you process through. If you need to extend it out, it can be very complicated, if even possible. Not all chatbots can actually extend out to other functionality, as an example. So some of the most common areas that we've seen individuals use is combine speech to text with Watson Assistant and then text to speech. So that kind of gives you that full dialogue flow. You're able to process through voice channels, do the speech to text, Watson Assistant, the chatbot will process it, answer your questions, and then respond back through the text to speech back to the end user through that same flow. So if you want to further enhance that, there is the Watson natural language understanding aspect. So that's if you have complex sentences or you want to dive into even further knowledge, then you can debug, look at the entities, the relationships, the context of what's being asked of in the paragraphs and sentences, and truly go down into the depth. And further enhancements as well, we're in a global society. There's multiple aspects, multiple languages. But what if you wanted to translate, one, it could be like this PowerPoint right here. I could translate that into multiple languages and keep the formatting in it. Or you can use it in combination with Watson Assistant as an example. And then you'd all of a sudden have a multi-language chatbot where you could have it like translating in the users speaking French, go to translator, translate it to English, the assistant processes in the language that it knows, and then send a response back and translate it back into French for your end user. And then further enhance that on top is the Watson Discovery. So every company and organization, there's some sort of knowledge base. It could be your user manuals, could be FAQ documents. You have a large set of information in your possessions, which comes in very fantastic source of information in a chatbot context or just in broad use context, where if you have a question that a dialogue flow can't take every path on, you do a natural language query on your knowledge base and come back with that result set. So that's what Discovery can actually accomplish. And when you combine them, you're truly unleashing the power of both your knowledge and helping your end user itself. There are a few other offerings too. You have the natural language classifier for classifying text. So if you wanted to group things in different sections and be able to respond based off of that, or to do analytics, you can function with that. And then really a great use case with AR is the visual recognition. So you want to be able to process what the world, what the optics is seeing, be able to capture that. And then once you have that context, then you're able to even further enrich your other interactions with other services. Oh, there we go. And then Watson wouldn't be complete without factoring in the more in-depth data science aspects. So if you want to do custom models, build those out, you want to have like a Python notebook, so doing RStudio, more real hands-on, in-depth AI portions of it, managing the deployment of your models, that comes into the right-hand side here, Watson Studio, OpenScale, machine learning, and Knowledge Studio. So Watson, when you hear the term Watson, it's actually a whole portfolio of solutions that in combinations, you can add a tremendous amount of value to your end solutions, to your AR, XR applications, etc. So what does all this AI technology let you do? Some of our most common use cases here that I come across is customer service. So you have Watson is the Watson Assistant piece of it. You can have a customer service agents working on support cases or resolving issues. Hey, I lost my credit card. What do I do? If there's multiple questions that repeat over and over again, put those in an assistant, let that process it. Then you further augment that with your knowledge base itself. And if it's questions that the dialogue doesn't know, then you can dive into it. It's the same thing for employee support. HR departments will utilize a service so you can employees can answer their own questions without impacting HR service levels. And then if you have a big help desk support system, you have Agent Assist. So as the agent's talking to the end customer, you can utilize Watson services to say, okay, here's where you're at. This is the next thing to recommend. And then it will pop up and do it at the same time and help the agents be much more efficient. So this also relates to AR, XR. You can have kind of that guided resolution to issues, based on what the AR and XR units are seeing, then you can actually enhance your end solutions with that. So knowledge transfer is a big thing in the industry as well. So you have your older workers, they may be retiring, or you're just in a high churn environment where your customers are and employees are leaving constantly or very quick turnover, getting people up to speed can be very difficult. But if utilizing AR with it, you can actually augment that learning, increase the speed overall, and get people on board and have that higher retention overall. Troubleshooting issues, we kind of mentioned this briefly here before the technical issues at the moment, but by troubleshooting issues, you can spot, utilizing virtual reality or visual recognition, you can spot issues and say, okay, there's where your issue's at. You need to rewire these particular wires to a different position, or that's a burnt wire, etc. And then collaboration, by having both that visual aspect of it, you can work with your co-workers and factor in other things like digital paperwork, digital manuals, and be able to collaborate in real time, combining the various technologies on top of it. So when you're looking at different AI solutions, what are some of the things that you need to consider? Some of the big things is how much data do you actually need to be able to train the models? Are they pre-trained with large general knowledge set? Do you need tens of documents or tens of examples, or do you need thousands and thousands of examples? That definitely impacts your speed to market and your overall usability. How customizable can your models be? Do you have the capabilities to make it fit exactly your industry and adjust it on the fly? If there's certain phrases, can you put that taxonomy right within inside your models very easily? And that also brings you into the overall user interface of the AI solutions. Is it more tailored for end users? Is it tailored for developers? If it's tailored one or the other, one of them is going to be unhappy, right? You want to be able to have it be able to handle both, such as Watson Solutions. Is your data truly yours? A lot of AI providers, they'll take the data and knowledge that you are providing and feeding through the models, and they'll utilize that to retrain their own general models for the general population. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. If you're in a heavily regulated and private, where data privacy is key, that's the bad thing. Does your provider allow you to kind of opt out of that, or make sure that your data and your models are truly yours? And last but not least is, where can you deploy your models? Are you able to deploy them on premises, or deploy your solutions on premises, on any public cloud, private clouds, on the edge? Where can you deploy those? You need to have those flexibilities and be able to accomplish that, and not have to redesign every time you want to change deployment options. So that's kind of Watson at a high level, and some of the things that you want to consider with AI, and some of those some things for consideration. And I've got some resources here too that you might come in handy. So feel free to reach out afterwards, and we'll be able to share these with you. And this is my email address if you'd like as well. So let me pass the control over to Trevor here.
Great. Daryl, if we could pass it back to Alan, and we'll see if we can get his sharing.
Okay. Let's see.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for that. There's a lot of really strong points, especially around the who owns the data, right? I think that's a really big fear of a lot of people, no matter what the solution is. And ultimately, I really like how Alan puts this, is this is a tool, right? And you can use this tool however you intend to. So I think the biggest thing with the overlap with AI, with AI and AR, is I think that knowledge capture is what you mentioned. So really appreciate you said that. That is a really big point there.
Okay, let's try this again. I'll start kind of where I left off here. And that is, can you see my screen now, or?
Yes.
Looks great. Smooth sailing now.
We'll see. I do have some videos in here, so I try to optimize it for video. So maybe that was a problem. But anyway, so again, working with some of the projects we're working on here in Avatar, we're going to kind of go review a couple of different projects that we worked on in the past here. And this one here is the V22. So hopefully that switched to the V22 screen, and we're running good here. But you can imagine, again, this is a fairly complex machine. It's got lots of different wiring, within it. and complex machinery just in general. So one of the things we were tasked to do is to use AI to assist in the discovery of potential misrouted wires. So when the wires run through this specific aircraft, it has to be done in a specific way, and it's not always done that way. So we were tasked to identify when that was not the case. In addition to that, we were also tasked to potentially find burnt wires within the craft, the degree of which they might be burnt, as well as chafing on the wires as well. So in this process, what we did is we created a kind of a two-step process. The first step was to identify the potential problem with AI, visual AI. The second step was to use AR to either show the display of the fix of the problem, or to allow the user to document what the next steps would be. So this is kind of the common theme that we've used here in anything that we do. We basically use AI to identify the problem ahead of time, and then AR to show what the solution could potentially be. So in this program, in this specific project that we're doing, the first step was to collect all the data. And when you're collecting data for visual AI, it's not always an easy task. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Hopefully the customer has the thousands and thousands of images that are sometimes required. And in some cases they don't. And if they don't have the images, there are ways to create it digitally. So there's a thing called synthetic data, and that's the ability to actually create your own image data set as well. So again, that might be a subject for a future seminar, but that is possible if you're asking that question. So taking all that data that we took for originally all these images, we then compiled it into a computer and did what we call training. So the steps you're seeing on the screen right now, these are very basic steps. That actually is a lot more complexity in this, but these are the very basic steps that we take to train the model. We take all the images, we put it into basically a machine learning algorithm here, and we do training on it. So the end result is a computer model that we use to reference in the application later. It's basically the brains of the workflow here. So at the very end of this project, what we had was the ability to not only find if wiring was incorrectly routed, but we could also find the different types of burns within wires, as well as chafing as well there. So you can see those things are kind of called out on the display here. And again, within this program, the next step would then be, how do we address these issues? We go into the AR part of it and say, okay, do we want to document it for future fixes? Do we want to fix it currently? We're going to overlay digital content that's going to tell us step-by-step directions on what to do next in this process. So this sample here is basically just reviewing how it pertains to wiring, but it's not limited to wires. This can also be used in other areas of industry. For example, this sample here documents how to find corrosion within a vehicle. So it could be a boat, aircraft, a car, truck, whatever it happens to be. We find the corrosion, we use AI to look for those specific things. Once they're detected, then we move on to the process of documenting it, or either that or fixing it as well. Another area that is popular is medicine. So right now, this is actually currently being used out in the industry as far as having doctors look at X-rays and be able to detect if there's a specific thing on the X-ray that's standing out. Again, as an assistant, not necessarily to replace the doctor, but as an assistant, say, hey, we noticed something peculiar here that we've been trained to look for. What do you think? In this case, the doctor could say, well, yeah, I agree with you. I think we need to look further here, document it, and or take other steps necessary. So this is also, again, being used for looking for skin cancers and things like that in the medical industry. Okay, so the next slide here reviews maybe a little more into the retail environment, but this is a project I worked on previously, where the team was tasked to create a virtual mannequin. So this was actually a major retailer that came to us and said, we want to create a virtual mannequin. And the idea is that the consumer could go around the store and scan different items, different clothing items, And based off of the scan, they could then pull up in front of them a virtual augmented reality mannequin that would pop up, and basically you could see that item of clothing on this mannequin in front of you. So that was all and well, and everything went well, but we decided, well, it would be a lot more useful if we could actually recommend other clothes. So if they chose a specific shirt with a specific color, could we not then suggest on the mannequin a different item of clothing as well? So maybe these pants go really well with this shirt, these shoes also match. And then we basically created a recommendation system that would allow the user to choose from different accessories based on what it thought would match this item that they scanned. So again, this is not necessarily the visual side of AI, but this is kind of more of the back end. And some of these specific technologies were actually based off of IBM's offering as well. Okay, so this sample here is another good example of using some cloud-based AI technologies. This one was put together, if you guys are familiar with the 19 Crimes campaign, it was very successful in the AR world. But I thought maybe to take it a step further, instead of just listening to the guys on the bottle talk to you, that maybe we could talk back to them and ask them questions. So I created this sample here, which was based originally on IBM speech to text AI technology, as well as their chat assistant solution. And so the idea is that you could, well, we'll let it play. When were you born?
I was born on February 12th, 1809, near Hodgenville, Kentucky.
Who was your vice president?
My vice president was Hannibal Hamlin from 1861 through 1865.
So as you can see there, this basically is a mobile app that I can scan the bottle, have the president pop up on the bottle itself, similar to 19 Crimes, but in that there's a button there that I can actually ask him questions. So it adds a little interactivity into the process here of this campaign. So in addition to that, I thought it would be interesting if we could do all this stuff, and we can. Would it be interesting if we could integrate with its other products? So for example, movie posters. So someday in the future, when we can get past COVID-19, we can actually go out and interact with a movie poster. So wouldn't it be nice to walk up to like a Harry Potter movie poster and talk to Harry Potter and have him talk back to you? So the nice thing about this AR technology is that not only can I ask questions to Harry Potter, but he can actually ask questions back. And say, for example, he asked the right types, or he asked the questions to me and I answer them in a correct way. I could then potentially be entered into a contest to win front row seats to the new Harry Potter movie that's coming out. So there's the ability to not only use this interaction with AI, but there's also the ability to tie into APIs on the back end that then allow me to do other things as well. So you have posters, obviously with object detection, you have toys, books, any type of retail product you could potentially interact with. So it opens up that opportunity as well. So kind of towards the end of this presentation, one thing I wanted to kind of emphasize is AI is pretty complex. There are a lot of pieces to it. When we do our projects here, a lot of it is military based, so we have to kind of keep it self-contained and proprietary. But it doesn't have to necessarily be that complex. And like Daryl was mentioning in his presentation, there are a lot of cloud services out there. Most of the major ones offer cognitive services, a lot of the features that we just talked about now, as well as low or no code options. So the beauty of that is you do have the ability to jump into AI, integrate it with your application without having to be a data scientist necessarily. So a lot of the samples I just showed, whether it's visual recognition or even the chat pieces, there are components of these cloud services that allow you to tie in that type of technology to your current app without having to do a ton of coding in between as well. So that's kind of a takeaway for that. So anyways, I want to thank you very much for joining us today. And that is my presentation. And there is my contact information if you have further questions. And that is it.
Alan, thank you so much, man. That was a really, really strong presentation of the blend of the two systems here. If you wouldn't mind passing back to me for 1 minute, I just want to make sure the settings are good before I pass it back to Trevor.
Yeah, hold on 1 sec.
And so funny you bring up the, the 19 crimes and your flavor on it. I think they really missed the boat on it being interactive in that way, right? I wish I could just pick up the bottle and ask Snoop Dogg to start to rap, but that's not the case right now. So I really like to take on it.
Hold on 1 sec. I'm trying to transfer you back.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely adds interesting ideas to the stuff that we currently interact with. I know that 19 Crimes, piece was really, really interesting. I really enjoyed that experience. But as you see some of the stuff that I just showed here, the ability to kind of interact with anything, even entertainment, but also for educational purposes, the ability to kind of just maybe even walk through a museum and interact with, pieces there. These technologies all exist. So it's a great way to kind of combine them all and make useful solutions.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much for that. All right, Trevor, I'm going to pass it over to you. And Trevor, you have the floor, sir.
Let me know when you guys can see that screen.
Got it.
Yeah, okay. Can everybody see that?
Yep, looks great.
Perfect. So thank you, everybody, especially for Chris and Marlo over at Avatar for letting me join this panel. I've been working off and on with Avatar for quite some time as a partner now, and looking to learn more about IBM and the solutions that Daryl's providing. So like I said, I'm Trevor Backlund. I'm an executive VP over at New Eyes Technologies. For the past 15 years, I've been heavily involved in various technologies, worked with Siemens Automation at one point, working a lot with the Industry 4.0 technologies that you see today. So I've really kind of cut my teeth with on the plant floor experience, being manufacturing, automotive, telecom, utilities, oil and gas. So very industrial experience working with the technologies that power a plant, more from a smart factory perspective, like AI, machine learning, IoT, digital twins, SCADA, MES, and all the various technologies that you see today. So I think I'm going to come from a perspective of taking a look at how AR smart glasses are used with AI technology and predictive maintenance is what we typically see from a lot of our manufacturers. So New Eyes, if you haven't heard of New Eyes Technologies, we're not new. We've been around since 2014. We've been heavily involved with various AR and VR hardware and software for the visually impaired is how we got started in the medical field. And recently, we have entered the enterprise market, which we're very excited to announce the launch of the Pro 3 mixed reality, augmented reality smart glass. That is what I'm kind of here to talk to you a little bit today about what we're experiencing in the market as we enter quite a few evaluations that are coming up. So that is a little bit of background on myself, and I can kind of get started from this perspective on smart manufacturing. Taking a look, we have so many customers that we're working with that are trying to stay competitive, and they want to look at smart factory initiatives. What does that mean? What technologies are involved? And we see AI heavily involved with our customers to try to get that artificial intelligence data, machine learning, to really provide data that can provide good decisions as far as making sure that part's not going to fall apart or run down. The machine has an uptime. So AI can really provide these data models that can really prevent some of these machines from breaking, from air pressure valve tanks to some of the slides you saw with Alan for corrosion detection. And where AR comes to play for us is we're in a data visualization category. So how do I view this data? You know, I can get all this AI. If I'm walking a plant floor, I can look at robotic arm health and performance. But traditionally, how am I looking at that data? And typically you're looking at your smartphone or your tablet, or you're walking over to an HMI, for those of you guys in the industry, human machine interface. Those are planted all throughout the plant. And that's typically not the best way to view this data. So how do we look at using a hands-free device, a hands-free AR glass, to view this data in the real world, overlaid in front of you? So basically you're looking at a 90-inch screen that's about 10 feet away from you and have full access to a lot of this data that you see. So that's where we talk about how augmented reality can really be experienced better with wearable smart glasses. And we don't just feel that way. We're being told by our customers, because there's a lot of the hands-free workers out there that are walking a plant floor, they're a field technician, and they need to remain hands-free. Well, how do you get that data quickly to you using the AI models that you can see today with various software? So predictive maintenance is really where we see a lot of the top industrial AI use cases. Like I said, we're entering a handful under NDA, 30 to 40 industrial AR pilots right now, evaluations that are evaluating our glasses. And we're told from the study right here, you can see how heavily weighted predictive maintenance is. And AI really drives that technology
Sorry, Trevor, I'm going to interrupt real quick. Is your screen frozen? Or are you on a specific slide? Because we just still see the first slide here.
Oh, let me see. I see. Do you guys see that first screen?
Yes.
Okay. Do you guys see the screen?
We see like the PowerPoint, like the development view, not like the presentation view.
Okay, let me see here.
We see your mouse moving, so we know it's not frozen.
So do you see this
There
screen?
we go. Yep.
Yep, slide 3.
Okay, so
yes.
it's probably not going to put full screen for whatever reason.
You just have to switch the screen. You can do when you're in presentation mode. If you hit switch screens, it'll show.
Yeah, I think this will do for now. Can you guys see this good enough?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good. All right. Thanks.
So where I was going with the conversation on this slide is that from all the customers we're working with manufacturing to automotive to a lot of the manufacturing plants, is predictive maintenance is a very, very main topic for having the production line staying up and taking all that data. And you see that the slide here shows that #1 reason for 24% from the survey is that predictive maintenance is the top AI use case. So how do you take all that data and kind of harness it into a view that is easy to see right away? So this kind of talks about hands-free, keeping your workers hands-free, not looking at the phone, not looking at a tablet or HMI, and experiencing it through a wearable smart glass like our Pro 3. So, using AI, how do you look at this data very quickly? So the idea for lightweight compact glasses that I'll share with you in the next slide is really looking at this view of data very quickly. Whether it's a silo A, B, C, you can see the humidity, temperature, the weights, and a lot of this comes from machine learning and AI. And this is very, very, very impactful that we're hearing from our customers, because now operators can basically make decisions on the fly very quickly by just putting on the glasses and viewing this information that's pulling in data of their plant. So it's basically like a mobile HMI, or a better way to keep your hands free as you're working. So these are the glasses that we have created that we are launching here this month. They are called the Pro 3 mixed reality AR glasses. And the component that we're looking at, and I've spent a lot of time in AR hardware and software the last 5 years, so I can tell you the pain points and the ins and outs of what works and what doesn't work, and what customers, the enterprise, have come to us and said, look, we're looking for something that's smaller, lighter, that blends in more to the environment. If I'm wearing them, I don't stand out. I want them to be ergonomically comfortable. That's the major complaint, is they're too big, they're not ergonomic. These are lightweight. These are 88 grams. They have SLAM, which is simultaneous location access mapping. That is what allows you to project a 3D object in front of you. It allows you to pull in data from a large screen in front of you. So the field of view on these are 52 degrees. This is just kind of getting into technical. That is the same degree wide field of view as the HoloLens 2, for example, which Avatar Partners works with as well. And the arms fold. So these are very much like sunglasses. So the arms fold away. So it's a very natural sunglass approach to wearing the glasses that you can put away quickly. Now these connect to, these are Type-C devices, so they connect to any USB Type-C connection. So this is actually an advantage at this point of utilizing these smartphones as they're getting smarter and smarter and more technical with Qualcomm chips and LiDAR sensors and all sorts of AR features in these new glasses, whether it's Samsung or iPhone. So these are the visuals you can see here with the different technical, using the 3 cameras, the built-in stereo. The commands on these, you can use your voice commands to navigate the UI. So workers remaining hands-free, open screen, show health of equipment, next screen. You guys can understand how easy it is to navigate with voice. We also have gesture controls. So if you see a screen in front of you or a digital twin, you can use your hand gestures much like a HoloLens 2, where you can point, swipe, and so there's various ways to navigate these glasses. We also wanted to come into the market at a very inexpensive price point. Customers have told us that we need to be under $2,000. We accomplished that. You can see the bottom picture. That gives you kind of an idea of how small they are compared to the phone there on our on my hardwood floor. We've got them very, very small and tiny, and the wide field of view, SLAM, everything kind of there. The battery life is also extended because you're also using the battery life from your smartphone. And development on this is very, very easy. We obviously rely on partners like Avatar to make these mixed reality experiences much easier when deploying mixed reality content for training or step-by-step instructions. But back to the AI component, this is a very heavy topic with one of the largest warehouse logistics that we're starting next week. You guys can take a guess who they are, but we're under NDA with them. They have AI set up on their conveyor belts. Due to COVID, right now, we're seeing more and more, obviously everybody's ordering from home, so they're experiencing a heavy amount of what do you want to say, damage to the conveyor belts. So how do you do that? Well, you've got IoT sensors, but they rely heavily on AI. Well, that's great, but they've told us that they don't want their operators to walk the floor and look at their phone to get that data. They want to use a glass like the Pro 3 to pull in data, a live data feed of the conveyor belt to find out when it's going to break. So kind of to that predictive modeling that Daryl was talking about with IBM Watson and the corrosion detection that Alan was mentioning, the same type of technology is used, but we are now a way to visualize that data hands-free. So you're looking, like I said, at a 90-inch screen in front of you, wide field of view. I can make an informed decision. Let's say there is a problem on line 3, or you can do a screenshot, you can open an email, you can make someone aware of that problem on line 4 very quickly using the glasses. So this kind of gives you an idea of what they look like. I can send you guys information at the end of this call about our SDK, about any technical questions you may have on SLAM or object recognition, but similar technologies to what the HoloLens is doing. But to give you an idea of the weight out there, the Magic Leap is 280 grams, and we are 88 grams. So that's pretty light. It's the lightest I've ever worn. And we're getting that feedback from people, because if these don't fit your head and they pinch your nose or your forehead, no one's going to wear these. And that's what the industry has told us, that you've got to make them smaller. You've got to make them not stand out as much if you want to use these at the big manufacturers or the automotive and telecom and utilities. So we're getting a lot of feedback that's very positive. But it's important that we partner with software partners like Avatar that can really help us develop that content, because a lot of it right now is for maintenance, repair, and operations. these are just two slides that I found very important. This is, I can wrap this up here, 12:50. Yeah, it looks like we've got 10 more minutes, so I might have to just wrap this up. But this is really quick, just a slide I can send you guys where these are key insights that were taken from 2020 in a survey from Fortune 100 companies that are already using AR. And you can see how much they put on AI, computer vision, and AI language. So that is a little bit wrapped up, short, condensed version of who New Eyes is, what the Pro 3 glasses are, and where we're targeting the enterprise. So if you guys have any questions, there's my contact info. And I will return the share back to Chris.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Trevor. Yeah, I really like how you can kind of round out this entire conversation here. You know, we have the AR, the AI, but you know, the deliverable, what device are you using it on is critical, just as you'd mentioned, the ergonomics,
Exactly.
right? So you know, it really is a hugely important aspect to consider when you're, you know, depending on the use case that you're going at. So what I'd like to do now is a Q&A. So if anybody would like to drop some questions in the general chat or shoot me some messages directly here, we can run through. So if the speakers could please go on video, I'll jump on as well. And yeah, we can fire off some questions here. So one question that was already sent to me directly, and while it's non-technical, I think it's a great starting point. And I think I kind of want to target Daryl first with this one. Daryl, what excites you about using these technologies and the combination between AR and AI, and where do you see the future with that going? Like what can we really accomplish with this stuff?
To me, it's kind of the power of combining the solutions, and you don't have to boil the ocean all in one shot. You can start with the simplest piece of it that accomplishes your main objective first, then add in extra pieces on top of it. The integration points are so easy these days with all the APIs that you can utilize. It makes it very easy to get up and going. So just the power it's unleashing. You can get a lot of context that you couldn't prior. You know, analyzing, like if you're using tone analyzer as an example, if you're talking with a customer through a chat, you're able to determine based on the wording inside that chat, hey, I'm frustrated, I'm ticked off, you know, and then if they're that upset, you know, typically if you're on the phone, give me your manager. Well, if you're using it through a chatbot, then you can all of a sudden route it to a different type of dialogue and have it pick up that context and kind of de-escalate without having to get someone on the line and be able to address it in a more friendly manner. Of course, you can always pass it off to a live agent or have them call back or something like that, but it gives you so many options and you're able to expand your overall view and address your customers' and users' needs.
Let me unmute myself. Yeah, that's great. No, thank you so much. I kind of want to shoot Alan the same question here, but then Alan, after you address that one, I'm really curious, this is kind of for my own thought process, is how does this help with decision-making ability? You know, you can interact and, you know, ask, you know, the former president who his vice president was, but in terms of like an industrial use case here, how can this help, how can AI help make decisions faster and better?
Yeah, well, I completely agree with Daryl as far as being able to combine technologies. That was one of the, as a developer, you know, you typically kind of work in one environment, and it's great to know that the communication protocols are all very consistent. Even dealing with the cloud solutions, you know, grabbing onto the APIs, it's a fairly straightforward process within the different you know, cloud services there. So yeah, to be able to take a look at all the different solutions out there and help them solve a problem or help you create, you know, some type of solution as well is really exciting. In regards to, you know, the other comment there, though, decision making, you know, I think it's pretty easy, whether it's coming from corporate and saying, hey, we can optimize, you know, how fast we get things done. That turns into, you know, saving dollars, saving time as well. I think that's it's a pretty easy fix when you can kind of, you know, integrate that, you know, type of approach as well. So yeah, I mean, it's great stuff. Very excited about it.
Awesome, thank you. This next question is for Trevor. We got a couple questions about the glasses. How do they stand up against dropping, and how do they stand for eye protection as well? But can you also wear them with prescription glasses?
Yeah, so we've done drop testing at 2 meters, as far as the background on, doing some R&D and testing it out. So they have been drop tested. We do use a material that is not the typical plastic material that you see today. It's a very industrial grade material that doesn't scratch, and it's very flexible on that. Prescription lenses, it does come with a prescription set. You would just basically let us know your prescription, and the insert fits right into the nose bridge. So it comes with the prescription there. What was the other question?
Drop testing and then accommodation with prescription lenses, but also eye protection as well. Like, are they ANSI rated? PPE rated?
So the eye protection is the basic level of ANSI rated safety rate, the ANSI safety rated glass in the front. But we're not going to be the real wear, class 1 div 1. That's never going to be our ultimate goal of being in an explosive environment like the real wears out there. They're totally different market.
Awesome, thanks. So I have a couple more questions here. Here's a good one. So with the amount of data being generated, what are some ways to help with processing and increasing performance? So, I mean, this is something that you all can address. Daryl, let's start with you on this one.
Okay, so data, like you mentioned, is very vast, especially when you're talking in manufacturing lines. You have tons and tons of sensors. The data's coming fast and furious in large amounts, right? So the most common way that I've seen it being handled, and especially recently, is edge computing, where you're able to push down the models into the edge, devices closer to where the data is being generated at. Because a lot of times you don't need that data being pushed back to your main repository. It's kind of, okay, here's the event, let's process it and move on. Other times you want it captured, but you can kind of process it, take action now, and then send it for processing in like the master database down the road if you wanted to. So edge computing, that aspect, and being able to manage edge devices, I think that's one of the key for very fast data at the moment and the volume of data.
Definitely. Yeah, it's got me thinking of, both capturing data, sending it out, but also deploying it as well. Alan, what do you think about, how, if we're going to do a solution with cloud-based processing and, and edge computing with it, how are we going to enable pushing so much information to smart glasses, whether it's just general text all the way up to really heavy 3D models? How is that managed?
Yeah, actually, it's really exciting. Some of the technology that's coming out and actually exists today and also coming out in the future regarding AI is actually helping some of these problems we're talking about right now. For one, if you're using the HoloLens, there is kind of remote rendering, so you can have a lot of the processing kind of done on the server and then just get the rendering part sent out to the glasses themselves. But also, I just watched a webinar recently with NVIDIA where they're taking a thing like a Zoom meeting like we're doing currently, and instead of using real video, which takes a lot of bandwidth to send, they're using AI to map the face and use face meshing as an avatar to then send the data across, which significantly lowers the bandwidth of required to do meetings like this. So yeah, if you're kind of watching technology in general, you're seeing some of the AI actually solve some of the problems that we're seeing with this as well. So very, very interesting stuff.
That's great. And so we're almost over here. So I guess I'm going to finish off the same question with Trevor. Trevor, how can the Pro 3 or any piece of hardware for that matter start managing BIM models or really heavy CAD models, really big design profiles that need to be displayed in someone's field of view? How does hardware handle that stuff?
Yeah, so I think that's, for us, partnering up with the Verizons of the world and T-Mobile, specifically recently with Verizon and their MEC announcement, mobile edge computing, not just 5G, but 5G ultra wideband. That's going to really help us push a lot of that heavy bandwidth, heavy rendering to the edge, as Daryl, the closer you can get to the edge. And then partnering with companies that do BIM modeling, like a VGIS or a Visio, that could really render these Unity 3D models of architecture, building, and looking at the different designs of that. But I think the 5G ultraband is really going to help from an edge perspective as we look to partner with these BIM modeling companies, which is a very big topic right now in the AEC industry.
That's great. So, you mentioned you have a bunch of pilots going on. What industries are utilizing or looking at the Pro 3 right now for this kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's one of the most exciting parts for us is that, providing mixed reality lightweight glasses that can do 2D, 3D, streaming video, PowerPoint, 3D model in front of you if you're in a classroom. A lot of education customers, universities across, we're getting a lot of demand for universities that give it to students as the curriculum is now moving into a mixed reality immersive environment. But then you've got remote assistants to help out with these people in the field to get remote help. So really across the board, from manufacturing to drones to oil and gas, automotive, using it for their line, for their dealerships, retail, telecom. There's a lot of different use cases for it that we're seeing a high demand for, something that's lighter on the head.
No, that's great. No, thank you. I know we're over. I want to tackle one more question here because it's really for a sector that we really haven't touched much on here. It's from Ismail for the Abe Lincoln application here. Would this make education at elementary school levels? Do you see this being used in the education environment a lot with this interactivity, but also the engagement used with AI? Are you guys seeing this kind of stuff?
Yeah, I can speak to that really quickly. One of the things I've noticed when I did that specific demo, there were pre-processed videos. And basically, when I got the question answered from the chat interface, I then played the appropriate video for that. But since we've actually worked on that project, we've come across this very high-end neural network face meshing, and you guys have probably heard it called deep fakes, where you can actually take the face of the person and modify it in real time, as well as there's a lot of voice technology that allows you to actually take your own voice and turn that into an avatar as well. So based off of that, you now have real-time interaction with an avatar like Lincoln or Einstein or some other type of historical figure. And if you then combine the technology of like IBM Discovery, where you can go through and take a bunch of documents and index them and have real-time questions be answered through that system. Education is huge for something like that. And it's also very entertaining too. Something like what you guys saw with that demo, kids love that kind of stuff, to be able to interact with historical figures. And stuff.
Even tying in recently what Unreal did with MetaHumans or GigXR with their Hollow Patient. It's very becoming that interactive, but it's how do you put that text to speech, the IBM kind of analytics AI side of it tied in. But we're seeing it now. It's very exciting technology.
And then to add one other thing on top of it, and there's so many languages in the world, being able to add in that translator on top of it and then being able to present that back, you kind of get that two-way path, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel with every different language. So will it be ideal? No translators 100%, but if you're 80-90% of the way and you can kind of teach that rest or adjust it, that's 90% of the way further than you were before with minimal development.
No, that's a great point. And this is a fantastic way to cap this off here. So for everybody on the call, if you, we're going to make the video here. So the video is recorded. We're going to make the slides available. We also have a lot of other resources. We also, if you did register, you may have gotten a message that we are going to provide you guys who are on the call an exclusive ROI for augmented reality as well. So if you are interested in any of these resources here, please shoot me an email directly. We have the speakers' contact information on here as well. Please reach out to them directly if you have any questions. I do have some other questions directly that have come in, and I will do my best to get those answered if, or when rather, I send out the email with the other resources. So thank you all so much, Trevor, Daryl, Alan. Really appreciate your time and sharing your expertise with this kind of stuff. We're at the very beginning of what this technology can accomplish here, and we're super excited for all of us really to be working together, right?
Yeah.
So any parting words from you guys?
No, that's it. Thank you very much.
Fantastic session, everyone. Great meeting everyone. Look forward to hearing from you some more.
Yeah, thanks for putting this together, Chris.
Yeah, great job, Chris.
All right, thank you all so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Stay safe and warm.
For sure.
And not frozen.
Hopefully not.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Ciao.